Good morning. We're going to begin today with some singing. I'm going to invite some folks from the choir today to help with us because it is a round, so, ready to start with a challenge first thing in the morning. The piece we'll be singing is Alhamdulillah. This is in Arabic, and it's a phrase of expressing gratitude, thankfulness towards Allah. And we sing it today mindful of of what is going on in the world and the feelings and emotions that our Muslim siblings might be experiencing at this time. Can I have We'll sing it together once just to get the tune and the run of it, and then we're going to split into two groups. So if you're seated on this side of the congregation, these are your friends here. And, well, everybody can be your friend, and on this side, you're going to follow this group here. We'll start with this group, and we'll finish with this one. But first, we'll just do it once all together to get the sound of it. So, Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah. That's how it goes. I'm going to go to the piano now. We'll do it one more time once I'm at the piano all together, and then we will break into parts.
Good morning. Let's try that again. Good morning.
Good morning.
Excellent. Okay. My name is Mariella Keblasek, and I am on your board of directors. I'd like to begin this morning with a land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that our campus is located on traditional, unsurrendered, and unceded Algonquin Anishinaabeg territory. The work of reconciliation, of making amends for our past history, is a responsibility of our congregation and of all Canadians, and will be a lifelong journey. FirstU has taken steps in that journey by building relationships with Indigenous groups, supporting the development of the Ajaski program, and by donating a portion of our campus to Ontario Aboriginal Housing Services so that they could build affordable housing for urban Indigenous people. But our work is not finished. We must continue the journey. And now for some board announcements. First, a gentle reminder that we are a cent-free building. Last Sunday, Reverend Lara suggested that we take advantage of the Black Ottawa History Tour organized by Black History Ottawa. Lots of interest was expressed. We would like to move forward with this idea, and we're looking for a volunteer or a small team to take on organizing responsibilities. If you are interested, please speak with Chuck Shields, who's back there with his hand up. Please speak with him following the service. Religious exploration volunteers are wanted. Our religious exploration for children and youth, their RE program, the program is growing and we want you to grow with us. We're looking for volunteers to support our staff in our Chalice and Wonder Rooms. The time commitment would be one Sunday every 4 to 6 weeks. Please contact dre@firstunitarianottawa.ca if you'd like to learn more about how you can support our UU kids and our RE staff by volunteering with us. A note from the Justice and Equity Action Group. Please sign postcards going to our Ontario government and local MPP requesting more funding for community support services, as, for example, the services provided by Pinecrest Community Health Services. Those services are essential. We will be in Fellowship Hall after the service with postcards for you to sign. A brief update from the Aspire Equity Investment Group. We are ecstatic to announce that after setting what we thought was an ambitious goal of $500,000, FirstU has now raised over $1 million in loans and donations to support our affordable housing project. Great work, everyone. And now I'd like to invite David Chernyshenko, the Time and Talent Auction Coordinator, to make a brief announcement.
Thank you, Mariella. Good morning. All right. And speaking of money, the Time and Talent Auction. Who's heard of it? All right, plenty of people. There's going to be some audience participation here. Who donated something to the auction last year? Yeah, I should say, raise your right hand. Now keep your right hand up. Raise your left hand if you bid on or won something in the auction. Now do jazz hands if you met someone new or enjoyed or got some kind of pleasure or satisfaction out of participating. Okay, I'm seeing plenty of that. Now, put your hands down. Raise your hand if you don't have a clue what I'm talking about. That's what I'm here for. So the Time and Talent Auction is something that we did annually. COVID put a lot of things aside, brought back last year, raised about $7,000, first time back, entirely online. We plan to repeat it again this year where the bidding, the registering, the displaying of things that are available to bid on, and the bidding, even the payment can all take place online. But then you get to meet community members as a result often, because this isn't just an occasion for us to donate items like use my cottage for a week, or come to my house for a games and dinner night, or I'll tune up your bicycle, or I'll take you on a tour of Sandy Hill, a variety of things like that, time and talent. It's also an opportunity for us to get to know members of the community. And I would say just as importantly, because often that's what ends up happening. You bid on something, you win it from someone you've never met before, you meet up with them to collect it, or they do something for you or with you, and as a result, we get to know each other better. So there's really that dual benefit of raising money and getting to know people. So what's going to happen is the actual bidding will close on April 30th, but it will open up on April 26th, so there'll be a period of whatever that is. It's going to be a Sunday where I'll get a chance to announce, hey, bids are about to open, and then on a Thursday night, bidding will close. But in the long lead up to that, a few things will happen. One is you're going to hear from me, or possibly Jonathan, who has, if he's not regretting it yet already, said he'd like to help me this year and learn how it works, because I may not do this forever. You'll probably hear from us if in the past you have bid on, or you have donated something, and I will likely say, hey, do you want to donate the same thing again or something else? You'll also get fairly regular prompts in the EUU and in other ways to say, contact me to let me know if you'd like to donate something. And I will be here afterwards, coffee hour, if you want to get to know what this is really about and have some ideas. And so over the next number of weeks will be intake time to start contacting me to let me know what you would like to donate, or hey, how does this work exactly? I'm not quite sure. I have this idea. Do you think it's a good one? And it's a chance for us to do that. All right. I hope that I haven't got a clue what you're talking about. People now know a little bit more. Thank you.
There's so much going on here. Good morning. I'm the Reverend Lara Cowtan. My pronouns are she and her, and I'm delighted to be here with you today. I'm joined on the chancel this morning by our worship associate, Alexis McKenzie, and of course, the indomitable Jen, our music director. And there's Jody, who's going to be telling us a story, and all of you. And I just want to say welcome. Welcome to all of you who are here in our pews and those joining us online, wherever you are in the comfort of your own space. Please do say hello to each other in the chat. You can do that. And prepare a candle in your own worship space to join us as we light our chalice here in a moment. I just want to say, whoever you are, whatever brings you to this space, whatever the gifts or burdens you are carrying this morning, whatever you come here seeking, your joy, your sorrow, your tears, and your laughter are welcome here. So glad you can join us. We hope that this community is a place that helps you to find and keep your balance in the world, to help you to lead a loving life of integrity, service, and joy. And with that, I'm actually going to invite you to take a moment and look around you and greet somebody. Meet someone's eyes and say welcome. Thank you. Thank you. Now you know exactly what you can do in the fellowship hall after the service. We come for community, we come for connection and belonging, and maybe to meet some people. And so I do invite you, especially if you're a newcomer, to stop by the welcome table and let us know how we can help you to connect more deeply into this thriving, vibrant community. Today we're going to, thank you, hi. Today we are going to begin our exploration of this month's theme, which is seeking wisdom. It's going to be a journey. Let's do it together. And with that, I invite Worship Associate Alexis McKenzie to come up with our centering words. Thank you.
Today's centering words are by Leah Ongiri. Here we are together, each facing our different human tasks, or maybe the same central one, to embrace the lessons life delivers, to discern and respond as we grow, to refuse harm and cherish flourishing. May we know ourselves as vessels of infinite possibility, holders of each other's heartaches and tales of joy alike, weavers of one story in which we have our part. Now, do I have a little helper to light the chalice this morning? A show of hands? Raise your hands if you want to light the chalice. All right, Samara. We light our chalice as a... I'm excited too. We light our chalice as a symbol of our faith, the light of truth, and the warmth of love. And now we can sing our chalice song.
Remind us with your light of all
Good morning, everyone. I am Jody McIntosh. My pronouns are she and her, and I am the Director of Religious Exploration. And I have a story to tell you this morning. It is a wisdom tale. Some of you may have heard this story before. It comes from the Anishinaabe tradition, and there are so many different versions out there, and my hardest part today was to choose a version. So this version is kind of little bits and pieces from several versions. So this is the story of Turtle Island. So long ago, before this world existed, there was the sky world above and water below, and not really much in between. And in the sky world, there lived Sky Woman. And she carried a great light inside her. And she also had a baby growing in her belly. She was full of life and dreams and seeds of all kinds. So one day, something happened. Now, some of the stories say that Sky Woman was curious and fell into a large hole that was caused when the tree of light had fallen. Some say that she was pushed into that hole. Some say that her father asked her to jump into the hole. So you can decide why Sky Woman started falling from the sky world. But that's what happened. Sky Woman started falling through this big hole in the sky world, and she started falling and falling and falling towards the water. Now, in the water world, there were no people, but there were animals. There were the animals that could swim and the animals that could fly. And the first animal that Sky Woman met was the goose. The goose alarmed all the other animals. Look, look, something beautiful and bright is falling from the sky. So the geese all gathered and flew up and caught Sky Woman so that she would not fall into the water, because they were worried about what would happen if Sky Woman fell into the water. So the geese held her there until another creature came up. Turtle. Turtle came along and said, place Sky Woman on my back so that she can live on my back. But the problem was Turtle was very small, and there wasn't much to do on the back of Turtle. It was just a hard shell. So some of the other animals came up and said, well, maybe if we could go down to the bottom of the water and gather up some soil and put it on Turtle's back, then Sky Woman would have something to live on. So the first animal that came along was Beaver. Beaver came along and said, well, I'm big and strong. I can go down and I can get some soil. So Beaver dove down and came up breathless and empty-handed because it was too much of a task for Beaver. So another animal came along, Otter. Otter said, I can go down and get some soil to put on Turtle's back. So Otter went down and down and down, again came up breathless and empty-handed. But then the smallest of the little creatures came along, Muskrat. And Muskrat said, well, I am going to try. But all the other animals laughed at him, said, well, you're too small. You're never going to be able to do it. But Muskrat took a deep breath and dove down, 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 down. And all the animals waited and waited and waited. And finally, Muskrat's body floated to the top, lifeless. And they're like, oh no, we lost Muskrat. But they opened up his little paw, and there was a little bit of soil in his hand. So they took that soil and they put it on Turtle's back. And Sky Woman sang a song of gratitude. And with her song of gratitude, the turtle grew and grew, and the soil on top of the turtle grew and grew and grew, and all of a sudden there was a massive land. And the first thing that Sky Woman did was she used her power to revive poor Muskrat because he had given his life to give her land. So Muskrat lived again. Now, Sky Woman was on this beautiful land and she had all these seeds inside her. So she spread her seeds and many things grew. We had corn and squash and beans and strawberries, and she was able to make this land fertile and grow. And she also had the baby in her belly, so she was able to populate this new land that we called North America. So Turtle Island, the land we live on now, it was born through kindness and courage and cooperation and the life growing within Sky Woman herself. So what wisdom do we get from this story? Well, we've learned that everyone has something to offer. Even if you're very small, if you're determined, you have something to offer. And working together can make big things possible. It wasn't just Sky Woman who made North America. It was turtle and muskrat and beaver and goose. They all worked together. And saying thank you matters. It was that song of gratitude, the first song that was ever sung, that helped Turtle Island grow. Thank you for listening to my story. We will now sing Our Children on Our Way, and you can send them some love as they go.
Will our ushers please come forward? Thank you. The offerings collected each Sunday help us to live into our values within this congregation and in supporting many good works beyond our walls. We know that we are bound up with each other and our partners in the world, and that generosity is an expression of our faith. Last month, through your generous donations, we were able to donate $957 to Pinecrest Queensway Health and Community Services, and in January, we gave $1,278 to the 10 Oaks Project. This month, our Sunday collections, unless marked towards your pledge, will be split with our community partner, LEAF, the Women's Legal Education and Action Fund. Since 1985, LEAF, which has a branch in the Ottawa Law School, has achieved significant landmark victories in Canada by using strategic litigation and legal education to advance gender equality. LEAF has intervened in over 160 cases, strengthening the Charter of Rights and Freedoms regarding reproductive freedom, workplace discrimination, pay equity, and the prevention of gender-based violence. Please give as generously as you are able.
Each time that we gather for worship, we set aside a moment to expand the caring ministry of this congregation, Together we recognize the cycle of life and death and the circle of witness that is at the center of this and every sacred community. Let us take a moment now and prepare ourselves for this time of sharing. With the sounding of our bowl, I encourage you to take deep breaths, find your center, relax, enter this space. It is the tradition of this congregation to place stones in bowls of water. The stones symbolize what we carry in our hearts, and the ripples, how we share what we carry through the other hearts in this space and out into the world as we lift up our intentions and our prayers together. From our larger world community, we place heavy stones of concern and grief for those impacted by bombings and fighting as war breaks out once more in the Middle East and between Pakistan and Afghanistan. Our hearts are with the families living in fear and mourning of the lives lost and those recovering from devastating recent violence still, and for those observing Ramadan in the midst of this jarring conflict. From among our community today, at the back on our table, for folks to sign and add your wishes to a card, and we share a stone for Ariel Barenberg, as we wish you continuing smooth recovery from your recent cancer surgery. It is our human condition that on any given day, those among us are carrying joys that they wish to celebrate, celebrating milestones of life, of sobriety, of anniversaries, and those also carrying deep griefs, of losses, of concerns, of health issues, things you wish to share or hold in silence. I invite you now to come forward as you feel so moved and share with us your stones of joy and concern. final stones for those joys and concerns and sorrows and celebrations that remain in the silent sanctuary of our hearts, and for those of you online. I invite you now to share a minute of silent reflection, to lift up your own thoughts, your own prayers, in meditation and in care. Our anthem today is a combination of two Sutu folk songs, knowing that we draw wisdom from parables, sacred texts, folk tales, all of these things. This is a setting of two of those songs. The first song is the story of two children playing, and one of them falls in a well. But it's okay. The child is fine. The second song is somebody driving far too fast in a car, and they miss everything going by, and these singers implore them to slow down. And the allegory or metaphor of this is to stop going at a very high speed and move so fast that sometimes you need to stop and appreciate the little things, and also try not to fall in a well. So.
What a lovely musical number to kick off this morning. Today's reading is from an unknown author, Seven Wonders of the World. A group of school children were asked to list what they thought were the present 7 wonders of the world. Though there were some disagreements, the following received the most votes: Egypt's Great Pyramids, the Taj Mahal, Grand Canyon, Panama Canal, Empire State Building, St. Peter's Basilica, and the Great Wall of China. While gathering the votes, the teacher noted that one student hadn't finished the paper yet. So she asked the girl if she was having trouble with her list. The little girl replied, "Yes, a little. I couldn't quite make up my mind because there are so many." The teacher said, "Well, tell us what you have and maybe we can help." The girl hesitated, then read, "I think the 7 wonders of the world are to see, to hear, to touch, to taste, to feel, to laugh, and to love." The room was so quiet you could hear a pin drop. The things we overlook as simple and ordinary and that we take for granted are truly wondrous.
I invite you to rise in body or spirit for our next hymn, Be Ye Lamps Unto Yourselves. This is number 184 in your gray hymnals. Once upon a time, there was a wise Zen Buddhist monk. People traveled from far away to seek his help upon the mountaintop and gain wisdom in learning the way. One day, a famous scholar comes to visit the wise monk. "I've come," he said, "so that you may teach me about Zen." "Very well," says the monk, and he begins to speak, but the scholar soon interrupts him, and this happens again and again.
The monk suggests that they share some tea. The scholar talks as the monk prepares the tea. And he keeps talking as the monk pours him a cup of tea. The monk keeps pouring and pouring. Soon the cup overflows, and finally the scholar stops and says, "Stop! Can't you see? The cup is full." The monk smiles. "You are like the cup," he says, "so full of knowledge, nothing more can be added. Come back to see me when you are an empty cup." Now, this is a simple story, almost too simple. And yet it holds a profound truth. Wisdom does not enter a closed vessel. It doesn't. In Unitarian Universalism, we affirm and promote a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. We honor learning and questioning and discovery, and we read books, and we attend lectures, and we listen to podcasts, and we gather information, and we fill our cups. But wisdom is not the same thing as information. We must remain open and curious and have room for something new, that we may be transformed. As Anishinaabe author Richard Wagamese wrote, "Knowledge is not wisdom, but wisdom is knowledge in action. And when I activate these facts and concepts to find the greatest, grandest version of myself, and then use them to work toward that vision, I begin the process of wisdom." I like that. The process of wisdom. Because we can do processes, right? Wisdom. Right, working with the sound here. Yeah. You bet. Okay. All right. Wisdom requires openness and humility, experience, and often story. Hi, Julia.
The mic always has to be pointing in the back or else we get feedback. Okay, better.
Okay. All right. So, thank you, Julia. She's awesome. Yeah. Long before there were textbooks and research papers and, sermons or search engines, there were wisdom stories, myths and fables and parables and creation stories that were carried from voice to voice and generation to generation, sometimes depicted by art, scrawled on cave walls. These are stories that help people to survive, help people to remember who they were, stories that taught them how to live. The children heard the story, the indigenous creation story of Turtle Island, and I imagine all of you here are somewhat familiar with that depiction. It teaches not only where we come from, but how we belong to the earth, to one another, and to the delicate balance of life, that interconnected balance to which we are all connected. Stories carry wisdoms like this in ways that facts alone cannot. As writer David Siddhartist observed, a good short story that takes me out of myself and then stuffs me back in, outsized now and uneasy with the fit. That's the purpose of a wisdom story. They stretch us. They help us to see differently. And remarkably, across cultures and across continents and across centuries, many of these stories point towards the same truths. Compassion matters. Generosity matters. interdependence matters, and humility matters. A familiar fable tells of an elder, a child, and a donkey traveling to town. At first, the child rode while the elder walked, and people criticized them. How unfair to that older person, they said. So they switched. The others criticized the elder for making the child walk. So they both walked. And then they were mocked for not using the donkey at all. So they both rode the donkey. And then they were scolded for overburdening that poor animal. Finally, in desperation to satisfy everyone, they carried the donkey. Crossing a bridge, they dropped the poor donkey into the river and it drowned. I know. The lesson is painfully clear. If you try to live by the expectations of everyone else and to please everyone else, you may lose your way entirely, and your donkey. Now, it's an old story, but it speaks directly to our modern lives, to social pressure, to the noise of opinion, to what we're hearing in our social media about right action, right ways of being, right ways of talking, right ways of expressing ourselves and our bodies that are acceptable to society. And so we adapt and we conform and we try to please everyone at the risk of losing ourselves. Wisdom stories endure because human nature does not change nearly as much as we'd like to imagine it does. These stories are timeless. Many spiritual teachers relied on story as their primary way of teaching, because I know you remember the stories I tell you, but maybe not the words of the rest of the sermon, right? Yeah. Jesus spoke in parables. Stories of mustard seeds and lost coins and wandering children and unexpected acts of mercy. In the parable of the mustard seed, something impossibly small grows into something expansive enough to shelter life. Muskrat's little fistful of earth was enough to create a vast land full of possibility and life-giving sustenance. The mustard seed story is a story about patience, about possibility, and about trusting in unseen growth. We don't know what happens to all those seeds that we scatter out there. We just know that we must, right? And then we must water them. A Buddhist teaching is the parable of the raft. A person builds a raft to cross a dangerous river, and then once safely across, they leave the raft on the other bank. It was a tough decision. They leave it behind because it would have burdened them going forward. The teaching reminds us not to cling even to the tools that once saved us, once they've served their purpose, because maybe we cannot move forward with them. It encourages us to embrace change. Similar to the Sufi story, the stream and the desert. I love this one. A stream reaches a vast desert and knows it must cross it, but fears that it will disappear if it crosses through the desert. And only when it allows itself to actually be lifted by the wind and transformed into something new so it falls as rain on the other side, can it continue its journey. The wisdom is that we must let go of our current form in order to continue to transform. It lets go of its form in order to continue in a different essence, in a different way. There's so much wisdom there. Different cultures, different metaphors, the same human questions. Who am I? How do I live? What matters most? But wisdom stories, they're not always there just to comfort us. They also warn us. They tell the truth about what happens when we forget our humanity, when we forget our humility. Many traditions carry stories about the danger of power without compassion. Stories of rulers who have hardened their hearts, and stories of communities that have turned on their neighbors, lost their way. Stories that show how easily fear can turn to cruelty as we begin to see others as less than human, as we begin to see others as other. The Hebrew prophets warned that a society cannot flourish while the vulnerable are cast aside. And Indigenous teachings remind us that when we forget our responsibility to one another, imbalance follows for people and for the earth. These are not just ancient lessons. We know how current these stories are. As Unitarian Universalists, we affirm the inherent dignity and worthiness of every single person. And wisdom calls us to live that promise, not only in belief, but in action. When witnessing laws being proposed and even passed south of our border and across this country being considered that will restrict the rights and the safety and the dignity of transgender and non-binary people, whenever any group is singled out as being less worthy of dignity, of belonging, of safety, of protection, of care, of opportunity, less fully human, we act. Wisdom stories remind us where the loss of empathy can lead. And they remind us of another path. Because wisdom, it's not just about inner peace. It's about how we live together. Unitarian Universalism is rooted in pluralism, in the understanding that there's no single one tradition that holds all wisdom. It's not written in one book. In fact, it's not even all written. We draw from many sources: Indigenous teachings, Jewish and Christian stories, and Buddhist mindfulness, and Hindu and Muslim poetry, and music and tradition, humanist ethics, scientific discovery, nature, and the direct lived experience of mystery and wonder. It's a lot. There's a lot of wisdom out there. And across these traditions, certain truths appear again and again. Be present. Be compassionate. Live with humility and generosity. And remember that we belong to one another. Another simple story tells of a wise woman walking in the mountains. She finds a precious stone in a stream, puts it in her pouch. Later, she meets a hungry traveler and invites him to eat at her fire. The traveler sees the stone and asks for it. She gives it to him. He leaves with this treasure, and then he comes back the next day. I know how valuable this stone is, but I want something from you that is even more valuable. I want what you have within you, that allowed you to give it to me. Wisdom. Not possession, not certainty. Freedom. Some stories will stay with us, and they resurface years later as you've been dreaming about it, thinking about it. It's been sitting, lying in wait to appear when you most need it, quietly. Perhaps wisdom is less about collecting answers and more about remaining open, empty enough to be changed, challenged. There's one more wisdom story I'd like to share. It was written by the Russian author Leo Tolstoy. It's called The Three Questions. A ruler, a king, believed that if he only knew the answers to 3 questions, he would never make a mistake. He wanted to be a wise ruler. Question: when is the right time to act? Who is the most important person to listen to? And what is the most important thing to do? He asked his wise people in the court, and they offered him solutions, but no, it didn't work. He offered a great reward across the land, and people came with their ideas, but no. So he went in disguise to visit a hermit up on the mountain. They're always up on a mountain. And he asked for the answer to these 3 questions. And when he arrived, the hermit was digging a garden, old and frail and visibly exhausted. And seeing this, the ruler, he took the shovel and he began digging for him. And the hermit could just sit on a rock and rest and sip water and watch. Hour after hour, he worked in silence, preparing this garden. And just as the sun was setting, a wounded person stumbled out of the forest. They'd been lying in wait to harm the ruler, an enemy seeking revenge, but instead, they'd become injured themselves as they slipped and fell. They landed right at the feet of this ruler, injured, bleeding. The ruler washed the wounds and bandaged them and sat beside the man through the night, making sure he was okay. And by morning, the injured person's anger had softened into gratitude. A life that had been bent towards violence and fear and hatred had suddenly found peace. When the danger had passed, the ruler turned again to the hermit and asked for the answers to his questions. And the hermit replied, "You have your answers. The most important time to act is always now. Because the only time we ever truly have is now. And the most important person is the one you are with, the one whose presence you are holding, because you do not know what tomorrow will bring, and this person is with you now. And the most important thing to care is to care for that person, because that is the purpose of being alive." The 3 questions. Such a simple story, and yet it carries with it the wisdom of so many traditions. Perhaps the greatest wisdom of all is this: the wonders of the world are not only monuments of stone, but the living capacities within us to see and to hear and to feel, to laugh, to love, to give. May we continue the search for wisdom, not only for knowledge, but to truly live in seeking wisdom. May we listen for the stories that call us to our deepest humanity, and may we always Heave room in our cups, living in such a way that our lives themselves become stories of compassion and courage and love. May it ever be so. Amen. Blessed be. I invite you to rise in body or in spirit, and we have a closing hymn, Bring Many Names. Although we suggested to sing 4 verses of it, how about we cut that to 2? We'll just do the first 2 on the slides, because I know we're running a little late and I want to be mindful of your time. Appreciate that. Thank you. Please rise. Please remain standing, and thank you for your flexibility. That's a complicated hymn in many ways. It has some problematic words, and we tried to find our way through it, but appreciate you coming through that song with us. And I would like to just say we extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth or the warmth of community or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. And may you go with an open heart and an empty cup, ready to be shaped by what you encounter. May you listen for wisdom in unexpected places, in ancient stories, in quiet moments, and in one another. And may you live in such a way that your presence brings compassion and courage and love into the world. May it be so. Amen. Please join in singing Spirit of Life.